Welcome to EnergySpin Fireside Chat. We are here today with Kaj Rönnlund as our guest speaker, moderator for this session, and we'll have an excellent discussion here today with Danfoss and Laavat. My name is Marko Koski. I'm running EnergySpin together with my partner Marko, and now for today's session. Perhaps Kaj, some words about you, what you're doing.
I'm actually an investor and business angel, so I'm investing in startups. And normally for a time like 5 to 8 years within them. I'm now invested in 7 different companies and on as many boards then, looking very much into different type of technologies, finance, also in the health tech sector, clean tech sector, and so on.
Thank you, Kaj. In EnergySpin, we connect the startups to corporates and trying to bring them together so they can make business, global business together. Today's session is on cybersecurity, software, and energy. And so perhaps Laavat, Kaustabh could start with something. Tell about your company, the business.
Thank you, Marko. Nice to meet you again, Kaj and Marko, and nice to meet you, Shekhar. Thanks for having me. So about Laavat, so it's a cybersecurity startup from Finland, set up in 2017. We have a product for IoT security. So it has been an interesting journey, but what I want to highlight is that many of our guys in Laavat, they have a pretty long background in this area from their experience in Nokia, Microsoft, Intel. So many of us have been working in this area with those companies. A little bit about our customers. So we have Vaisala, we have Foxconn, we have Hair Technologies as some of our key customers. Actually, Vaisala is the lead customer for our IoT security product, which actually leads to what is our product all about. So the Laavat product actually helps to reduce the risk that you see with unsecured IoT devices in areas such as critical infrastructure, health technologies, autonomous vehicles. We help companies to comply with the various regulations and laws that are coming in these areas. We help companies to build secure IoT devices without really having to invest in security capabilities and technology. So we take away the pain from them. Finally, a little bit about our financials. So we are a financially well-off company, so we don't have any loans or investments.
Thank you, Kaustabh. Now for the Danfoss, which is well known here in the Energy Vaasa cluster. Shekhar, could you please tell about yourself?
Yes, thanks, Marko. And talking about Danfoss, I would start saying on a group level, it's a Denmark-based company, globally spread. We have 4 different businesses: heating, cooling, power solutions, and drives. I am part of the drives business. The overall company from the finance point of view, more than 6 billion euros of turnover. And the people point of view, just to give you the feeling, more than 27,000 people. And always when we talk about it's changing, I mean, as we speak, it's changing because of the activities taking place in the market. Then I will more talk about drives because I belong to drives. And in the drives business, around 1.5 billion euros of drives business. We have been in this business over for 50 years, great years, coming first in the market, bringing AC drives in the market. Our product offering goes all the way from 180 watts to 6 megawatts. In low voltage range. We are as well expanding our portfolio in motion drives, in medium voltage drives, and basically strengthening our position in low voltage drives through that as well. Around 24.7 millions of drives are installed, let's say till last year, I can say. We also have a largest tailored power semiconductor manufacturer as a name. So one of the largest company doing that tailored power semiconductor manufacturing. So we say that proudly that 30 million cars are already equipped with our power modules produced by them. All in all, factories across globally, working many times through partners and we are in the business of saving energy, so energy saving business. And with the new electrification as a mega trend, we are also more and more focusing on this energy storage, charging infrastructure, electrification of ports, the things which are happening around us. We are focusing on that because of this power conversion expertise, what we have.
Thank you, Shekhar. Quite a nice company, and you are in many locations around the world. How comfortable would be the large corporations like you, like Danfoss, with getting into the critical solutions with as cybersecurity with the startup, and as opposed to more established providers, or the bigger ones who've been on the field for a longer time? How is it that with working with the startups?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at in last few years, based on how the market has been developing and the customers are becoming more and more aware of this topic, cybersecurity, we have been, of course, engaging ourselves in developing the competence what is needed. Because when you have to support your customers, you need to have certain level of competence yourself, and that's what we have been doing. But as far as working together with, you ask me whether it is a startup company or whether it is a really well-known or established organization, I think it does not really matter. What matters is there is a value for the customer, our customer, and there is a value that our customers can buy. And then in that case, it's just a matter of taking that value to our customer. So we have been already working, as an example, through the network of different companies with well-established service providers or solution providers, as well as the companies which are relatively new, not necessarily having big experience, startup mindset, but having really good, super good ideas on the table. And just to add on to that, I can say that even in a bigger organization like Danfoss, more and more, we are also trying to work in certain selected areas, like with the startup mindset.
Thank you.
Maybe to follow up on that question from the Laavat point of view, that what are the challenges, Kaustabh, that you see, and what things do you have to keep in mind as a startup working with larger corporations, and particularly in the phase of selling the solution?
Yeah. Thanks, Kai, for the question, and thank you, Shekhar, for the input. So what we have seen is, like the kind of solutions that Laavat provides, they are typically meant to be there for the long run. So once you get a solution from Laavat, it will be there for a while. And also the kind of devices we support, like IoT devices, they are also meant to be supported for a very long time. So that means, companies, when they discuss with Laavat, they're always thinking that, is Laavat going to be around in a few years from now? What happens if Laavat gets bought out? Who will support my devices? They are never doubting Laavat's technical capabilities. So whenever we discuss with a big company, they are saying, okay, we know your background, we know what you guys have done, but are you guys going to be around? How can I get the confidence that you guys are going to be around in a few years from now? Because the devices you are supporting, they are going to be there for maybe even 10 years. We might need support from you in 10 years time. So that's one thing we have faced. And what we typically do when we go to a new company, we say that let's start small. Let's start with a small project so that you get the confidence in us, and then we can move to something bigger. And that's how we have worked with Vaisala, for example. So they got the confidence when they started with us, how we could deliver, what kind of company Laavat was. And then we immediately moved to bigger projects with them. And they ended up being the lead customer for our product in the end.
Very well.
Thank you. It's a typical problem, I think, for many startups, not only on your own field. To follow-up question to Danfoss, if you think about the infrastructure, electricity is a key element in modern society. So how you see the importance of a cybersecurity in the solutions with the embed to IoT and everything? So how important is that one when you start thinking about?
Yeah, I think Excuse me, Marko, before I say that, let me little bit touch base on when we talk about AC drives or our power conversion system. So AC drives running typically different motor applications, right from your heat ventilation, air conditioning to very demanding applications in marine, cranes, for example, or when we talk about power conversion system in energy storage or charging, it's doing its job. I think this what we supply in a complete system, it anyway goes as a component, and it has software, and it communicates typically to the overriding system like PLCs or DCS and so on. So just to give our everybody how drives are coming in focus with cybersecurity. So they are connected devices, you can call it, in a system, and that's how people can reach out to these devices, and then security becomes super important. Then about this electricity question, what you asked me, that what we see is also there is a huge transformation taking place as we talk around us in this electricity infrastructure, what we are using. More and more electricity is a mixture of, let's say, more portion of renewables and less of this fossil-based sources. This is, of course, it is natural in order to address this global climate change. Now, with this experience of this pandemic, it's even more relevant, becoming more greener. And when there are these more sources of energy, it's obvious that when more of things coming together, system becomes complicated. So it's then it creates a little bit requirements towards, let's say, response and decision making while managing this demand and energy availability. So it means a lot of communication taking place in this kind of work, and that means it's also very critical, because electricity for us is a basic need, and then working on this topic with a lot of communication happening, it's really super important, this cyber security topic, and I can see that it is the awareness of it is growing, and there are roadmaps as well.
Thank you.
As we hear here, cybersecurity is important for Danfoss, and from Laavat point of view, I mean, there's a lot of technological buzz about artificial intelligence, cybersecurities, and is it really so important as it's said? And how do you view it from Laavat's point of view in the embedded IoT market? How important are your solutions?
Yeah, I think artificial intelligence is kind of a buzzword, and it's quite relevant when you think about solutions like for threat detection, anomaly detection. But Laavat provides more like the foundation. So how to make sure that you can maintain the integrity of your IoT device, how to make sure that the different components of your IoT solution are actually communicating securely with each other, how to make sure that during the manufacturing process, somebody is not making counterfeit devices counterfeit devices, how to make sure that the software on your device is actually up to date, so you can actually securely update the software on your device. Those are the fundamental things in ensuring secure IT devices, and that's what Laavat does. I'm not saying that AI-based threat and anomaly detection is not important. Both are important, but this is the basis what you need to have to secure IoT devices, and that's the area where Laavat operates.
Then a question to Danfoss. Do you see, especially then on the cybersecurity side, but generally also in this context in a larger way, some key trends what you would like to point out here in this discussion?
Yeah, good question. While Kaustabh can talk about a lot of details, and as I said, when our devices are used, they become part of a system. So relatively, we are, let's say, not that much in the front end of the cybersecurity. What we need to do is on device level, we need to do our job. And what we see is, or what we, based on the trends, what we take care is that we see more and more these installations are remote. If you just take an example of energy storage or charging infrastructure where you are charging your car and paying through that, it's all based on communication, but it can spread across. And that means there is a extensive use of remote access. There is extensive use of service generated remotely, analysis of the application to improve, to keep its health, or for the predictive maintenance kind of features is done more and more remotely. So these IoT-based services over a secured gateway is a key. That is one of the things I would like to mention. Then all of these devices, what we are displacing in the world, basically they have a communication capability. They can be addressed for its basic functionality, but also they can be addressed as a threat, communicated as a threat. And that means software plays a key role. And we see on a device level security is also very important. Even if we say that our device becomes part of a system, even then that kind of a device needs to be secured, and we need to do that. Then we are mainly hoping on these standards, developing standards as a trend. We many times refer to Industry 4.0, or there are also these IEC, ISO standards for markets. UL markets have also UL standards. So I think that is one which is, I'm hoping that everybody starts to follow that, and through that, of course, there are updates coming. Then I think on a general level, on an application level, there is more and more focus on how to secure the critical application and the devices inside the critical applications or processes. These are few things what I have to share.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Thank you. Continuing from that one, so talk about standards and remote services. So Laavat, have you observed similar trends, and is there anything special you would like to, what is popping out?
Yeah, I think very good points made by Shekhar. So I think if you take a step back, so what we are actually seeing, the more and more usage of IoT devices in areas as critical infrastructure, healthcare, like we have been discussing. And that's why I think as an offshoot of that, cybersecurity threats are a paramount. They are real, and they are very important for companies to handle. And not only for companies, even governments are getting into the game. You might have heard about the California IoT security bill. So the governments are putting in regulations which companies need to comply with if you are working in that area. So that's why companies are starting to take IoT security very seriously. Some companies might even see it as a differentiator we have seen. And then one thing we have seen recently is the COVID pandemic that has been now around us. So the digital transformation that was supposed to be happening in the next few years, it has leapfrogged in the past few months. Remote monitoring, remote operations are becoming the norm there. And with those becoming the norm, cybersecurity becomes paramount importance. So that's what we are observing for sure.
Excellent. Your software is B2B, and it's not only that, but it's in a very important places where the security issues are important. So, and we talk about regulation, it's becoming a norm, but are you able to talk with your customers openly on these issues? And because I think it's very much inside from many companies. So how you tackle that situation?
I think the main thing there is trust. There needs to be trust between you and your counterpart. If the trust is there, it's quite easy to talk openly. So you really need to focus on building the trust first between you and your counterpart, and then that discussion happens quite openly. So that's what we have seen.
Thank you.
Maybe a question here to Danfoss regarding cybersecurity and security in general. And how much is this on the table when you discuss solutions with the customers?
I wouldn't say that every customer is talking about it, or we are initiating also ourselves a discussion, because I mentioned, to give you the example, we use drives in a very simple applications like heating, ventilating houses or buildings, all the way to very critical applications, running paper plants, chemical plants, and mining, and so on. So I think it's always related to the criticality of the application and what is the risk of any cyber attack of that application, how critical it is. Those customers where the applications are very critical, I think it is a basic necessity. We call it, even in our trends or mega trends, we say digitalization is one mega trend where we are working on. Then cybersecurity is a prerequisite for digitalization. So of course it is quite obvious and it is a primary requirement, but at the same time we don't necessarily engage ourselves or even customers, every customer talk about that. It is rather a function of application and the criticality of the application.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kaustabh, what would be your next steps regarding growth? Is it because you work in multiple industries and you're focusing on some of them, but what will be the next ones and how will you explain your go-to-market strategy, or do you have any industries you're heading to at the moment?
Yeah, I think we are focused somewhat on the critical infrastructure. That's where our current customer is, and we have a product, and like I've said before, so Vaisala is a customer for our product. So what we are now trying to do is try to get our product into the hands of more customers and let them use the product. We are also trying to see how do we sell the product. So we have sold it, but how to sell it to multiple customers, how to get a sales process in place so that we can have a repeatable and scalable sales process. That's what we are trying to go for now. Our focus area currently is Scandinavia, Finland in the short term, then we move to Europe, but we ultimately want to be in the US because that's where the opportunity is, that's where the growth is. So we are targeting for that.
Thank you.
One question to Shekhar here. I mean, you are head of electrification, and in the world of connected devices, how much security issues are already included in the product development phase and in early stage?
In general, I can say that any device having a software and basically communicated either for the reason of control or for monitoring or both, typically, it needs to be compliant. It needs to be compliant, and we are at least more and more focusing in that direction. It then, of course, starts with encrypting the data so that it goes from one place to other place secured way, and ensuring the access to authorized users only through simple techniques are there, licenses, passwords, and usernames. Also make sure that the access through the authorized device is trying to access. We also use technologies like software licensing to make sure that we are on the top of it. So these are different methods, and then in a daily life, as I mentioned, depending on the criticality. Also, I can talk about this IoT platform. So services based on IoT platform, we must ensure also that the gateway between the plant or the system to the cloud, they are typically secured and need to spend more and more time on that. So these are just examples that how in daily life also when we talk about a product, the actual journey of that starts all the way when we are developing the product, whether it is our own product or when we are applying the product into the customer system. In all these activities, I think we need to keep in our mind the security of the system.
Thank you, Kaustabh, and thank you, Shekhar. Excellent discussion, excellent chat. Is there anything you'd like to still point out? If it's not, otherwise we'll have a go to question and answers. But if there's anything you'd like to say before that.
Maybe I have one more question. Picking up on what Shekhar said from Danfoss side about the standardization, how do you view the standardization at Laavat, Kaustabh?
Yeah, I think the standardization is still evolving. So I think it's only picking up speed now. So there are these code of practices from HC, from the UK government. So they are still evolving. NIST is working on standards now. So we are still, I would say, somewhat in the infancy. So I think it's still evolving.
Thank you.
So if you don't want to point out anything, so for the audience, please send the questions and we'll be happy to answer them. And otherwise, see you on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.